Welcome back to Telltale. This is the third of my John Brunner series, his third published science fiction work, which is titled Brainpower. This was published in Nebula Science Fiction magazine in February of 1953. So we're still really early in his career. Basic synopsis. You have the solar system, and this is a pretty common storyline for science fiction that deals with the relatively near space future where man has gone out and established bases all around the solar system, or even colonies like on Mars and such. You very often have this storyline where the colonies out in the solar system form their own political union, usually against the Earth's political power systems. And in some stories you get wars breaking out. And that's kind of what you have here. You have a federation of the outer planets, which is all the people that are out colonizing, working out beyond the asteroid belt. They want to split from Earth. They want to split from dependency with Earth. They don't want Earth controlling them. And they have a scientist working for them that's developing a number of scientific marvels. So they send a delegate to Earth to say they either accept the Federation's terms or there will be war. And the Earth checks into things and they find out that there's this secret base where there's something being developed, and they hear a rumor that there's some really advanced science that has been developed out there that would definitely tip the whole any kind of war in the Federation's favor. So not a particularly original idea, even for the time. It's not like just because this is 1953, nobody has written a story like this before. Earthlight by Arthur C. Clarke, which was published, I believe, before this in Thrilling Wonder Stories, has the same kind of idea. And that's actually a much better written story. That's, once again, Brunner is improving here. Not nearly as bad of writing as his first two pieces. Definitely better than his first novel. You know, we're now dealing with something that is enjoyable to read, but it's still not the best writing. Like I say, you could read Arthur Clarke's Earthlight and get a similar kind of story, and it'll be a much more enjoyable story, much better characters, much better writing, much better plot, much better description. I mean, just superior writing on all levels. The characters in particular here are, when people talk about classic science fiction having cardboard characters, it's because there are a lot of stories like this that got published in the magazines way back then that really did have cardboard characters. And just because this was John Brunner, well, it was his third published story. He was still a very young man. Not sure if he was out of his teens yet at this point. This is not the work of a seasoned writer. This is the work of somebody who's still learning the craft. So the only people I would recommend it to are people like me that are curious about reading everything John Brunner wrote, or anybody who's curious about the lesser works of the 1950s. It's interesting in that kind of historical perspective, but as an enjoyable story to read, I wouldn't recommend it. It's got a nice idea, but it is enjoyable to read, but it's not gonna really thrill you. This isn't gonna be a favorite of anybody's. So onward to whatever the next story is. And I've got high hopes for the next John Brunner stories because it was published in Astounding magazine in March of 1953. Even though it was published under a pseudonym, it was published in Campbell's Astounding, which even in the 1950s was still I don't want to call it the trendsetter. It still was the elite magazine among science fiction magazines, even with how good Galaxy and the magazine of fantasy and science fiction were. Astounding was still number one in the market. So I'm hoping this is going to be a much more polished story. Thou Good and Faithful, it's a longer story, it's a novelette. So that'll be the next one coming up before too long. Come back and watch more of these. Leave comments if you've read Brainpower or any other John Brunner's, early or late, and want to say something about them. Go ahead and leave comments. And come back and watch more. Come back and watch Thou Good and Faithful. Come back and watch any of our other videos, many other videos, many other authors. We publish videos a number of times a week right now. And so subscribe and like us and keep coming back for more. We'll be here. Till next time.